Have you ever been on a plane that's thousands of feet in the air and then suddenly, out of nowhere, it just drops? Or, for example, in a hospital bed about to have surgery, you start to feel like you're stopping breathing, but you can't say anything to the doctor because you're not sedated? You're awake and you realize how you're stopping breathing. These kinds of sensations you felt just now are what we patients who have had or those who have anxiety and panic attacks feel. And it can't be described or explained in the way that it's actually experienced. Today, I'm not speaking to you as Dr. Federico Baena, prosthetic specialist. No, no, no. Today, I'm speaking to you as just another patient who has gone through panic attacks and anxiety and who somehow managed to overcome them. And I can tell you, not 100% because you never overcome it 100%, but believe me, I have a very happy, very normal life. I haven't had panic attacks anymore, fortunately, but I remember perfectly well how they feel, and I've come to tell you my story, how I overcame it, how I managed to move forward. Because if I managed to change just one life with this video, it's already worth it. I would have loved it if 10 years ago someone had made a video like this and told me, Federico, don't worry, you're going to be okay, you're going to do very well, you're going to overcome it, you're not crazy, it's not just in your head, calm down. But unfortunately, at that time, it took me 2 years to find the solution. And I had 2 very unpleasant years with panic attacks, anxiety, fear of being in public, fear that something bad would happen all the time. The mind creates catastrophic and terrifying scenarios. And unfortunately, well, I couldn't get out of that. So today, I've come to tell you what I did to avoid panic attacks, stop them, and so they wouldn't happen to me again. Because if you're watching this video, surely you've had a panic attack or an anxiety attack at some point, and it's horrible. So let's start first with, how did these panic attacks come to me? Because I was a completely healthy person, completely normal, more or less, until I was 17 years old. At 17, I had nasal surgery because I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe at all, and, well, I underwent nasal surgery, and from the moment they operated on me, something happened in my body. Something happened. I had an allergic reaction to a medication that out of nowhere made my heart rate go up. From the 70, 72 that it should normally be, I was at 220 beats per minute. I mean, my heart was beating 3 times faster than it should have been beaten. And somehow that triggered these kinds of panic attacks and anxiety attacks that before the surgery, I didn't even know what they meant. Of course, when you get those panic and anxiety attacks, the first time, you want to die. Because you don't know what's happening to you, right? The first time it happened to me, I was at a bus station. I remember I was about to get on a bus. I was in Jalapa, and I was going to go back to Querétaro. And well, an ENT once told me, when your nose is really stuffed up and you can't breathe well through it, you put a little spray in your nose so you can breathe better. That contains adrenaline, literally. So I put it in my nose, puff, puff, puff. I was ready. I was waiting for the bus to arrive. And suddenly I looked at my phone to send a message to my mom that I was on my way, and it was like the whole world turned upside down. It did a complete spin like this. I felt like I was gonna faint. I couldn't stand up. I was doing really, really bad. I started walking all crooked. I went up to the counter and told the person selling tickets, I can't go, please change my ticket for the next departure because I can't get on that bus. I don't know if it was a combination of the adrenaline I put in my nostrils and being nervous about the road trip. I don't know. But what I can tell you is that it was horrible. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. That's the worst part. The first time it happens, you don't know what you have. Even the first few times, because it happened to me again a week later while I was driving. I was driving and I got nervous because I had an exam and I started thinking that I hadn't studied. And I literally started having shaken fits and my vision started to get a little blurry. Horrible things. That lasted for about 6 months. I spent 6 months living in fear. For example, I was afraid to eat. Afraid to eat and that something heavy would upset my stomach. Or afraid that food would get stuck when I tried to swallow. This might sound strange to you, right? And I think if any of you have never had a panic attack or anxiety, you'll say, he's crazy, right? I mean, what weird things? Well, for those who have had anxiety or who have it, you'll understand me perfectly well. They're senseless things where you say, well, nothing's wrong. And believe me, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. You don't even want to leave your house to avoid facing that situation. I started losing a lot of weight because I couldn't eat, because I'd go to eat and get anxious that I'd choke, or that something heavy would upset me, or that I'd get sick. Anyway, the first time I asked for help way too late, I waited 6 months. I was already depressed. Because also, after a while, when you go to get checked by doctors, because of course I went to see if I had a thyroid problem, to see if I had a stomach problem because food felt heavy. I went to see if my heart was okay. I had EKGs. I went to check if I literally had a stomach issue causing the nausea. I had an ENT check my throat for any post-surgery obstruction. Nothing. All the results came back good. All the results are fine. They told me you have nothing. And every time they told me you have nothing, it was like a slap in the face, like saying, then what do I have? Because I have something, and I'm sure I have something, and it's not normal, and the symptoms I'm having aren't normal. And when you've already studied a bit of medicine, because at that time I was in med school, well, there has to be a scientific explanation, a biological explanation. And, well, it just didn't click for me. I never thought it was a psychological issue or related to psychology, because it's not even a mental thing. Look at how tough anxiety and panic attacks are. After a while of researching, well, I ended up, of course, going to a psychologist, and the psychologist told me, no, it's that you have a lot of pressure, you have a lot of stress, these are called panic attacks, and you're a very apprehensive person, and, well, you have to take a medication. So they gave me a medication. Of course, the first time they give you a medication for your head, you say, I'm crazy, and I'm going to stay crazy for the rest of my life. I'm going to have to be taking 10 medications to fall asleep and another 10 to wake up. Believe me, it's horrible because you say, well, now I'm going to depend on a medicine, right? And they say that this medicine doesn't create dependency, but if I don't have it and I don't take it, I'm going to feel bad. So in some way, you become dependent. The point is that I took it for 2 months and the panic attacks and anxiety went away at that time. So I was happy. I said, hey, but I made it. I'm through it. This medication is magic. I even composed a song for anxiety and depression that I'll share with you later on my other channel. But unfortunately, that wasn't the end of my anxiety. That time, it only stopped for a bit. It stopped for a bit, and after 2 or 3 months, it came back to me again. But curiously, the symptoms were very different. The symptoms were no longer those of fear of eating and that something heavy would disagree with me. Now, I was afraid of medications. I was afraid that I would have some allergy from some animal bite. Very strange things that you say, hey, but well, that doesn't happen to normal people. Why does it happen to me? And for example, if my head hurt suddenly for some reason, well, I don't know, you stayed up late or whatever, I was afraid to take a medication. I was afraid to take an aspirin, a paracetamol, whatever. I was afraid that it might disagree with me, right? Horrible things. After that, the symptoms went away on their own. It was going away little by little. A year later, it came back to me again, but it came back in a very different way because now I had a sensation of choking, as if someone were literally strangling me every day, and I felt a pressure. I couldn't wear ties. I couldn't button the button here because I felt pressure. It was a pressure like a lack of air. I couldn't breathe well. And obviously, I went to check with the ENT again. I went to check my vocal cords to see if I was okay. You start to get nervous because you say, no, I have a tumor, or what do I have, right? Now, it's horrible not knowing what you have. It's horrible going to doctors and having them tell you you don't have anything. Everything is perfect, and you're like, but there's something I have, right? Something is causing the symptoms. And then that day arrived that changed my life. It turns out we were in a restaurant and, well, everyone ordered a fish that was delicious. I also ordered it. I ate it. And just then the waiter arrives and asks us, hey, what you think of the fish? And we're like, nah, well, it was delicious. And he said, well, it's just that sauce they put on it with shrimp is a marvel. And I was like, I'm allergic to shrimp. Wait, what? They didn't tell me? And I started feeling my neck, the corners of my lips, itching in my palate. I started feeling dizzy. I literally started like sweating. And I'm like, no, it can't be. These guys didn't tell me. How awful. And I started having an allergic reaction. And then the waiter comes and says, I'm sorry, the sauce didn't have shrimp. It was a fish sauce, but it didn't have shrimp. And I was like, oh my God. So that means that I caused the symptoms myself. I had the psychological capacity to somatize the symptoms of an allergy. I started feeling sick without having any reason. But my mind, like yours, is so powerful that it can create symptoms in the body that you can feel as real. And that's when it clicked for me. And I said, this is happening with anxiety. This is happening to me with anxiety. What I'm having is a psychological issue where somehow I'm causing the symptoms myself. And anxiety works like that. That's when I also found a book that helped me a lot, which I highly recommend, by David Burns. It's called When Panic Attacks. It's a gem of a book, and it helped me understand a lot about how panic attacks happen, how they're triggered, and how they can be controlled in this case. Every patient, every person controls it in a different way. I'm going to tell you how I controlled it. It doesn't mean that the way I controlled it will work for you, and it could be that if you do it, it'll be worse for you. So don't take it as advice, just take it as a person-to-person talk telling you how to overcome anxiety, and I hope it helps you. Here it goes. Anxiety somehow also has to do with serotonin. Serotonin is a chemical substance we have in our bodies that makes us feel pleasure. Now, many of us don't have our serotonin well regulated. And when these serotonin levels drop, we feel depression or anxiety or too much stress. And it's a chemical issue. That's why I insist, and that's why I have a video on TikTok and Instagram saying that to people who have anxiety and depression or panic attacks. Never, ever tell them to just try harder or it's all in your head. Don't do it, because people who are having panic attacks, believe me, they are trying hard. They're all day long working on this, thinking it won't happen, and if someone comes and tells you, oh, just try harder, it's all in your head, you want to strangle him. If you want to give him psychological support or friendly support, tell him, I'm here for you, I'm your friend, you can count on me for whatever you need. I don't understand your problem because I'm not in your shoes, but I'm here to help you. And that's it. But please don't tell them that thing about just trying harder, friend. It's all in your head. It's psychological. Because believe me, it often has nothing to do with that. And that's what was happening to me. I had my serotonin very high. Medications helped me recover it, but then I was left with that feeling like a panic attack. And my own mind created those panic attacks that somatized in the body. Somatizing means that you manifest a symptom in the body. What did I do? And that's where David Burns' book helped me a lot. When I got the symptoms, for example, there was one time when my throat started to go a little numb. Instead of worrying and getting nervous and thinking, here it comes, I would challenge it and say, oh, you're going numb? Go ahead. Let's see you go completely numb. Come on, choke me, let's see. And magically it would go away. If a hand started to go numb, for example, I'd say, let's see the other one. Come on, go numb, let's go. Is that it? Is that all you've got? Is that all you can do? Incredibly challenging this panic attack, the symptom, and treating it like, oh, is this all you've got? Come on, give me more. It made my mind say, okay, well, maybe not. I'll just let it go. I didn't worry. If I felt that sensation like I was choking or like my arms were going numb or I couldn't see well or I was dizzy, I'd say, here comes the anxiety again. Here it comes. I even made fun of it. And I started to adopt this way of mocking it, like a challenge. So instead of being afraid of it, I challenged it. I understood perfectly well what this whole thing was about. It was something I was creating mentally, and I challenged it. Like, oh, your mouth feels numb? Let's see it go totally numb. I want to feel itching all over my neck. Let's see. And nothing happened to me. Obviously, it sounds very easy, but it's a complicated process because some people even feel like they're having a heart attack, but no, it's anxiety. They feel sweating, they feel palpitations, and there are different symptoms for every manifestation. Even I experienced different symptoms with each of the manifestations I had at each stage of my life. This was when I was about 21, but I'd had anxiety since I was 17. So I learned to handle it perfectly well. I learned to find that point where you can say, this is as far as I let you go. Because if you let it rise to a point where you no longer control it, the anxiety spikes and the panic attack triggers, and it feels horrible. But if you see it coming, you feel it and say, here comes, here comes, here comes, I'm going to control it. You control it. I want you to know that I've gone practically 12 or 13 years without a single severe panic attack. Obviously, about 5 years ago, I had an issue where I opened my bank account and didn't find any money, and that lousy app wasn't working, and you open your account and have $0, and it's like, what happened, right? And you get a mini panic attack, but that happens to anyone, right? But not with the symptoms anymore. You don't manifest those strong symptoms anymore. You might feel like you're losing your breath, but like for anyone, it's just a normal adrenaline rush. Panic attacks can leave you completely drained of life. They can leave you with depression. They can leave you stuck at home, afraid to go out on the street, and it's a serious thing. Until you've lived through a panic attack, you don't know what it feels like. And that's why today I'm grateful that I had those panic attacks back then, because I've had many patients lately who have anxiety, who have panic attacks, and I understand them perfectly well. I talk to them, I tell them this story, and believe me, if someone had told me when I was having panic attacks, hey, take it easy, you're going to live a normal life, you won't have to take medicine, you'll be just fine in your normal life, I would have been so happy to see a video like this. Knowing that someone who went through this can be normal in their normal life during those moments of anxiety, believe me, it helps a lot. That's why I made this video. And if you made it this far, it's because you probably had a panic attack or you're having them now. And believe me, stay calm, it will pass. But you have to detect when the panic attack is coming, when that anxiety is about to hit, so you can stop it. Control it, and if my technique works for you, challenge it. Challenge it, don't block it, because if you try to block it, you can't. Instead, give it a challenge. Say, come on, hit me harder, hit me harder. Let's see how much you can give me. Your body isn't expecting that reaction. What your body expects is for you to get nervous and say, oh no, I hope I don't get more. But no, the opposite. Let's see, is that all you've got? With the full certainty that you're having a panic attack. Of course, you always have to be careful because maybe it's not a panic attack. Maybe it really is something like a heart attack or something else. So you always have to be sure that what's happening to you isn't something else. You have to be very sure that your health is fine. That's why you have to go get checked out, because many times symptoms are confused with panic attacks that can actually pose a risk to your health. So don't take chances. Go get checked by doctors. But if you've already been seen 20 doctors and they all told you that you were fine, don't rule out the possibility that it could be panic attacks. And I hope they are, because believe me, today I'm perfect. Today I feel great. I'm a normal person. I don't take any medication at all. I'm calm and I have a normal life. I hope this video helped you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'm sure I might be able to help you more. If you have an experience like this and you've overcome it, tell it, speak up, because it's very embarrassing, obviously, to say, well, I get panic attacks. Why? Because people have a very strange taboo and they'll say, oh, he's crazy. And it's not true. It has nothing to do with madness. It has nothing to do with madness. It's a chemical issue that happens in the body and it changes your life. But just as it changes you, it can also bring you back. There's a solution. If you don't find help in this video, please go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist to help you, because sometimes it's much more complex than this. But if this video helps you in any way, let me know in the comments. If you have someone in your family who has panic attacks or anxiety, share this video with them so they know they can live normal lives and that absolutely nothing is going to happen to them. It's just a phase. And well, I'll see you in the next video where I'll put my lab coat back on and we'll continue talking about teeth on my channel, your channel. I invite you to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. I hope you're all doing very well, and stay strong to everyone who's going through something like this.